Hey there, and welcome to the Do Life Big podcast. This podcast is going to be your jam if you want to live to your full potential and don't believe in half-assing anything in your life. If we want to do life big, that means we've got to get out of our own way because we only have this one shot to make it awesome. I'm your host, Kathy, and I'm a mom of three whose BFF is cold brew, a retired school teacher turned online entrepreneur, and an author. I'm loud, bold, and will always keep it real. I'm determined to live my best freaking life possible, and I'm here to help you do the same. I'll be packing this podcast with tips, motivation, inspiration, and strategies to finally get you where you want to go. And we will have a ton of laughter along the way because, let's be honest, we can't ever take ourselves too seriously, right? I'm so excited you are here with me today. Now let's get this party started. All right, what's up, my friend? Welcome back to another episode of Do Life Big. I am so excited today because we have one of my very dear friends who is also a total badass entrepreneur on the Do Life Big podcast today. And so I'd like you to meet my friend, Natalie. Natalie, thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
I am so pumped to have you here. You guys are going to love Natalie. She just has the sweetest family. We met 10 years ago now through Beachbody?
Yeah, about that.
Yeah, so 10 years ago. My God, I was a lot younger 10 years ago. But we've been friends ever since, and I just love her and her family so much, and she has so much knowledge and so much wisdom, and she's 100% honest and truthful and just leads with so much heart. And I know you're going to get so much out of today's interview with her. So why don't we start out with you just kind of telling everybody what you do and who you help?
Yeah, absolutely. So what I do, I started in direct sales, almost 11 years ago. Started with a company, as most people know, Beachbody, and they later transitioned their name to Body. And I was with them for a solid 10 and a half years, helping other people in the wellness space, developing meal plans, helping people find a fitness routine. For me, it was a huge passion of mine as I was somebody struggling in my own health and wellness routine and finding solution. I felt the healthiest, the best, happiest that I had ever been, and knew that I really wanted to pay that forward. And just 2 months ago, actually yesterday, we got this bomb dropped on us that there was no longer going to be the partnership for coaches to be with Beachbody. And so for me, obviously that takes away my entire team, that takes away my entire customer base, that takes away the community and everything that had been built and, income, right? So everything is gone. And for me, it was just one of those moments where I really had to sit and identify okay, what's next? We got to make money for the family, but also too, this is an opportunity, a clean slate to really figure out and decide, what made me the happiest in my company. And again, it always came back to the people. It always came back with helping people feel better about themselves, find confidence, but more so, I fell in love with the leadership. Kath, I fell in love with entrepreneurship. I fell in love with helping people step into their power, step into that next version of themselves that, funny enough, started with committing to a workout program, right? When they realized they could commit to a 30-day workout program and they saw the confidence they built over that time, it just opened the floodgates to what was possible for them, how they could start a business, how they could post on social media, how they could make their first sale and add and contribute to their family. And so that is what I do now. I partnered with a new company called Make Wellness. It's a brand new company, and I'm so excited. They have bioactive precision peptides. So again, staying in the wellness space, staying all natural, and just giving people supplements that work, that will enhance their goals. And obviously, too, give them an opportunity if they feel like the business side is a right fit for them. I offer mentorship there, too.
That's awesome. I love it so much. Now, because I like to kind of go down this path a little bit here. So if you could share with us a little bit, because I know it's been 10 years since we met. So that was 10 years when you first got into entrepreneurship. It's kind of a two-part question. Did you ever see yourself going down this road of entrepreneurship? And how were things different then versus now? Now you have two little kids and, just if you could share a little bit about that, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So, first of all, no. I went to college. I had my undergrad in animal and nutritional science. So, every goal that I had was to go to vet school. I've been passionate about animals my entire life. But I fell in love with somebody in high school that wanted to be a Navy pilot. So, my husband, Mason, when he graduated from the Naval Academy, I had an option. I could either go with him and travel the world, or I could continue on my pursuit to vet school and we would be apart for 4 more years. And really, for us, it kind of came down to not wanting to be apart anymore. We had just done college 4 years distance. I went to West Virginia, he went to Navy. And so I decided I was going to travel with him and that I would figure it out along the way. And my goal at the time was to build my resume so that, once we settled somewhere, because he wouldn't always be in flight school, once we settled somewhere, I could apply to vet school. But, over that time, student loans started and I couldn't defer those payments anymore. I had car payments. I was in debt. We had just got married. I was 23 years old. I didn't have any
Yeah.
type of big career. And so I was looking for options because my 9 to 5 just wasn't making ends meet. There was more month than there was money. And
Right.
now living at the minimum. And so I was already a Beachbody super fan. I was already doing those workouts. I was actually introduced to the DVDs back in college, and then randomly one day saw a girl talking about the business opportunity. And I reached out to her and I was like, first of all, how do you work for this company? Because that would be a dream. Like, you're getting paid to work out and help people. Tell me more. And so when she shared more about it, I was completely turned off. Like, network marketing, direct sales, it can get a bad rap if people
Right.
aren't familiar with it. And
100%. Yeah.
so I did my own research. I'm one of those nerds. I literally went and searched for the policies and procedures, which is like 50 pages long of all the rules. And I really learned like it was a legit business and that, I could control my income and I could control, the effort and the amount of time that I put into it. And so I just, like you, I went all in. I went all in. I was having fun. I didn't have any kids and I really wanted to get out of that soul-sucking corporate job. And
Right.
I was having a ton of fun making my own schedule. And I never knew that it would turn into what it did. I just believed that if I could find a solution for my wellness, which I was going on this journey, it was that extra layer of accountability, really, to start
Mm.
sharing and to start helping other people do it. It really helped me stay accountable as well. And so, we can talk more about that, but built a big old business the last 10 and a half years, just
You sure did.
doing simple behaviors. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of ups and downs to entrepreneurship, a lot of failures, a lot of peaks, a lot of valleys. But then, through my journey, I became a mom. I had a lot of loss. I became a mom. My husband went on deployment and then he came home and then he went on deployment again. And then we tried to have another baby and then we lost that baby. And then
Mm.
we ended up getting pregnant again, which is now my son, who's going to be 2 this month.
Oh, he's
Uh,
so cute.
Oh, thank you. And then my mom suddenly becoming ill and losing her life 2 years ago. So there's been a lot of transition. And I think one of the biggest reasons that I just love and really appreciate a business like this is that it's with me through these peaks and these valleys. It's always been there. I can't imagine having to get up and go into work
Oh my God,
during like
no.
the darkest days of my life. You know what I mean? That I created this passive stream of income that really supported me in the deepest parts. So yeah, I definitely a lot of transition. And like I said, I just think it's really awesome that this business can kind of go through life with you and grow with you.
I know it's amazing, isn't it? Like I always think back, like when you were talking about what was going on, like with the downs with your mom and everything, and just the loss of the baby and all that. I always think about that, like with my dad when he was, back in Massachusetts for cancer for AML, and we relocated the whole entire family up there down, from Florida up there. I gave birth to my third little one, Keegan, up there, and it was like if it weren't for having an online business, I would have never been able to do that. It's
Definitely.
incredible, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah, there's
cool.
lots of ups and downs. Now, when you were talking about getting into entrepreneurship or when you first started considering this, did Mason, Mason's her husband, just in case you don't know, was he supportive of this? Was he like skeptical at all? Like, did he support you? What was his kind of take on this?
Yeah, he was, I mean, totally skeptical, just one of those things he thought he knew what it was, because he had heard. I think it's one of those pyramid things is what he had heard that direct sales was. And,
Right.
he had seen other people try to do things like this and they end up never lasting. And so at the end of the day, he basically told me, look, if you want to do something like this, you go for it. But at the end of the day, we don't have extra money right now. And so if you're buying supplements to support yourself and to be a product of the product, we don't have the money to support, to put out for you to get your Shakeology and your, any supplements that you want from the company and multiple DVDs. Like we don't have that extra money right now. So, that's going to have to come from your own earnings from the company, in addition to that company being able to support your bills, because
Right.
you gotta work, sister. Like
You got to do something.
we're not at a point right now. He was just getting out of flight school or just in flight school, really. And we were young, we were 23. I had to do something. And so he said, as long as my product got paid for and I could pay my student loan payments and my car payment and help with groceries and any debts that we had, then, why not? What was I going to lose? And so he didn't believe that it would become anything, which was really inspiring for me because it was, I'll show you, buddy. those one of those things. And within 3 months, I had not only lost like 10 to 15 pounds, I was getting in the best shape of my life. My energy was contagious because I was sharing it every day. So other people were joining me. And, I ended up earning the income that I needed to start to not only support my products that I wanted to consume each month, but to pay the minimums on those bills that I had. And, I just was really driven from that point on.
That's awesome. It's funny how people like handle the skepticism from their, family. How some people it's like a major turnoff and it like totally defeats them and they're like, forget it. I guess I shouldn't do this. This is dumb. And then other people like you and I were like, I'm gonna show you. Just keep saying I can't do it and you just watch.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I love that fire. That's awesome. And so you've had the experience, right, of building a business without having kids and then transitioning into running a business while also raising kids. So, how was that transition for you? Do you have any tips for people for how to, work their business, not balance really, because it's kind of like out of whack at the beginning, especially, but like what tips or things did you learn along the way, like going from building a business without having kids to now I have kids, so I want to make sure that I'm present with them, but I also want to build a big kick-ass business.
Sure. First of all, doing this full time with no kids and then having children, I know that's not everybody's experience. Most people start in direct sales, it's a side hustle.
Right.
So they have their full-time jobs or their full-time whatever. And then, they also have their children and then they're trying to squeeze this little thing in. I think the biggest thing that we realized as going from having no kids to having kids is like, I had so much time before, So it's one of those things now where you really just, if this matters to you, if it means something to you to contribute to your family or, whatever it may be, you really have to get intentional about your time. And so for me, as a new mom specifically, I knew that I was going to be doing it alone a lot because my husband was going to be gone and deployed, and we were thousands of miles away from family. And so
Mm,
I knew that if I wanted to make this work, that I had to get, and this is controversial, and no judgment to people. It's one of those things where it's like I had to create a schedule for myself and my daughter. She was my only kid at the time. And so sleep training for me was absolutely mandatory
hmm
and nap schedules and bedtime routines was absolutely mandatory. Like I for multiple reasons, not just to build a business, but because it allowed for me to create those gaps in my day where I knew I could have time for myself to do whatever it is that I wanted to do. And for me, I wanted to build a business. When I'm mentoring people in this business, I think it's really important for people to grasp onto, a reason, a why, because there's no investment here. I mean, for
Right.
goodness sakes, Kath, you can become an affiliate with Make Wellness for free.
I
You
know.
know, there's no skin in the game,
None.
right? There's absolutely no skin in the game. So what's going to motivate somebody to show up on the nights that they're exhausted or, when the kids are having a bad day or when there's sleepless nights? And so for me, it was really about not only cultivating and developing a vision for myself, but making sure that that was like the key piece of implementation that I was teaching other people to do. And
Right.
so think about building a business with children. I'm not doing this, I'm doing this for them.
Right.
I'm not doing this for them to give them more opportunities than I had. We grew up very, very poor. And, there was never vacations. There was never, I had never been to Disney World and I had never done all of these cool things. And so as a kid, I just always was, my mom was always working. I never got to spend time with her all summer long. I was put in different camps and I never got to see her because she was a single mom working to take care of us. And so for me, I had that vision of like, I want to be present. We live in a world today where you can make money online and you can still be home with your family. And I know that's not everybody's dream, but I feel like any listeners on this podcast, that is something that they want. They want to do life big. They
They
want to
do.
have the best of both worlds. They want to have their cake and eat it too. And so knowing that it's possible with time management, really auditing your time, really getting intentional and clear about your vision and what it is that you want. And, knowing too that your kids are a what's the word? They're an enhancement to that vision and that goal. It's not a distraction to it. I try to bring now my daughter is 8. I'll bring her into these work calls. I'll share with her what we're working on because she knows that there's a reward on the other side if the family hits that big goal, or this is what we're going to use the money for, to
Right.
go
Oh,
on
it's so cute.
vacation or to put into the college savings or whatever it may be. And,
I
having a
love
work
that.
really loving and respecting her and all that she did. And I remember like those going to work with your parent day, and like
Oh,
sitting at their office and seeing everything that your mom does. And so I love that I can just bring this desk right into the entryway of my home and like she gets to see everything that's going on. And I don't feel guilt for having goals. I don't feel guilt for having dreams. I want to show her that you can be a present parent and you can also go have a kick-ass business at the same time. Like we live in a really amazing world now to where both things are possible. And so, sorry,
so true.
long-winded, but I just feel like I do. I feel like that having children in the only way that I've been able to stay motivated to continue doing this is because I just have such big dreams for the type of life that I want to give my kids that, you know, I have no time to be tired.
No,
I
yeah,
have
exactly.
no time.
We'll sleep when we're dead.
Yeah, I'll sleep when I'm dead. Like, no, and that's the thing. Listen, I'm a health person. I prioritize sleep over anything. But like, I am totally somebody that will give up a show or I will give up a nap or
Yep.
I will give up just scrolling the internet because at the end of the day, like if what I'm doing can not only make a difference and create purpose for myself through motherhood, because we all know that can be very lonely at times too.
Yeah.
This is a season. I mean, I've experienced that, and I know that you have too. Like,
Yeah.
linked, and your kids are all in school, like
I know.
going through those baby years, going, is this ever going to end?
I know.
And
I
I'm
know.
so tired. I'm so exhausted. Like, is this ever gonna like let up and be easy? And then all of a sudden she's gone, and now she's, first it stopped when she was. I'd pick her up from a full day of school, and now, at 8, she's in sports.
I
So it's
know.
like she gets home and now we're running, and it's like the quality time I have with her that it's such a short season. And so
It
there's a lot of
is.
moms out there who really desire to do big things. Like you don't have to wait. You can actually start setting the blocks and creating something now. So by the time your kids are off, like off to school and experiencing their own lives, like you've built something over those years that could
No.
really be transformative for your family.
That's so good. Oh my gosh, it's so good. I love that. That was an amazing answer. So good,
Thanks.
Natalie. I love it. And I think it's so important what you were saying about how like you can do both. You can be running the business, an awesome kick-ass business, and be a present, amazing mom. And you know how we see it all the time. So many people just put all their dreams, all their goals, all their things that are on their heart on the back burner because they say like, I just can't do it now. I'm just too busy. I'm going to do it later. But you can do both. Like you can
Yeah.
absolutely do both.
There was one thing that really kind of like flipped the switch for me. And I might mess this up because I don't remember it verbatim, but I had heard it, whether it was in a podcast or a book. And they're like, you're not tired. You're just not doing enough of what sets your soul on fire.
Oh, yes.
And
Yep.
I was just like, oh my gosh, because like so many young parents, we just go through the day to day and we're giving and we're giving and we're giving and we're not filling our cup in the process.
I know.
That's another thing that I would say is that sacred morning routine. I'm sure
Yeah.
you have that too, is like getting up before the kids, getting a sweat in, whether you're doing a devotional or you're journaling or you're listening to a mindset or a podcast app, like that is so sacred to have that time and to really pour into yourself because that not only makes you better for yourself, it makes you better for your children.
Yeah,
It
it's
makes
so
you
true.
better for the energy you have through your day, the way you want to have a relationship with your spouse and the people that matter most to you. And so really, I really clung on to that as like, I'm not as tired as I think I am. I'm getting 7 hours of sleep. I'm just not doing enough of what sets my soul on fire. And so when
Yeah,
I started chasing that light of like what makes you happy,
right.
I became the coolest mom ever.
You are the coolest mom ever.
Yeah. So I became the coolest mom ever.
She's a cool mom. I love it. Oh my God, it's so true. I remember hearing something like, I think you said it exactly, but it is, it's so true. It's like, I know, and I'm tracking my sleep every night with my ring here, and I'm like OCD about making sure I'm getting good quality sleep. And it's true, this period, like if you have little kids at home, it goes by so fast. I mean, when I first started Beachbody, I mean, I had two little kids at home. They were 2 years old, 6 months old. I hadn't had a third baby yet. And boom, now I have three kids and they're all in school all day long. And it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe how fast it goes. And, looking back, now I can look back and say, like, I am so thankful that I took a leap for online entrepreneurship and actually started in something that allowed me to be home, not missing any of the moments because time, it's really the only thing you can never get back. So, so important. Did you ever hit a phase in your business where you kind of doubted yourself and questioned like, should I just give it up? Like, is this really going to work for me? Did you ever go through any of that?
Every single day,
Every
you know,
day. Oh my gosh. See, this is normal.
day. And, I don't look, we all have the opportunity to be a product of our circumstances, right? And
Mm.
for the first 22 years of my life, I felt like a victim to my circumstances. My dad was in jail my whole life and then, passed away. And then I was raised by a single mom and we didn't have much. And I was an okay student in school. I was going to class, but I was getting decent grades, but I like everything. I always had a reason for why I couldn't be that next level of myself. And I think at the end of the day, like, and I was always very hard on myself. And the one place that I really like poured into was sports, was basketball. I was like, try to be the best I could be. Even when people told me like, you're never going to amount to anything or you're never going to do this. I was like, watch me. Like, I'm going to apply myself. And it was like the one place where I really poured everything in that I had and I didn't quit on myself. Because a lot of times in my life, I just felt like, okay, well, Natalie, you tried that and you're not good. So you must suck at it. So quit and move on to the next thing. And so when it comes to doubt, I think we can feed our doubt.
Hmm.
Think it's really possible to feed our doubt if we're not feeding our faith. If we're constantly thinking that, just because I'm not good at something or just because that didn't work out as planned, that I'm not meant for it. And
Right.
so, I mean, I was living in that victim mentality my whole life that my life was always going to be hard. And that's another reason why I fell in love with network marketing and direct sales because it opened me to this exploration of like personal growth and
Right.
leadership and team and like all these people that were cheering for me. And all of a sudden I realized that failure was not assigned to quit. Failure was assigned to redirect.
Oh
And
yeah, so good.
so to redirect and to kind of hone in on the skills that I needed to develop to do better the next time and to know that I was capable. Ed Milet always says something, he says, if being critical of yourself worked, it would already have worked by now.
Yeah.
So, it's like, so cut it out, like
Yeah.
you can only be mean to yourself for so long because if it was going to work, it would have worked by now. And so
So
for
right.
me, self-doubt, it was really kind of a part of me until I decided that I wasn't going to allow it to be a part of me anymore. And it's almost like just like in nutrition, where people are like, it's really hard to eat healthy. And, I feel like I'm deprived. And it's like, well, follow your meal plan. But if you feel like you want something else, just have it too. And
Right.
the purpose is to crowd it out. Because as long as you're getting all the healthy food, you start to realize that your body is satisfied. So then you start not needing all the crap with it. And so you
Exactly.
don't have to create this crowded out method in your mind, which is always fueling your mind with positivity, with always fueling your mind with personal growth, with always, if you're into faith, if you believe in God and if you practice faith like me, then, it's really living by that Bible verse in 2 Corinthians 10:5. It's like, take every thought captive, and
Mm,
present it to God and and let him tell you if it's truthful or not. And I have found that anytime in doubt, it typically is coming from myself. You
right.
know, sure, there's going to be haters. Sure, there's going to be people that, don't approve of that post or don't like what I'm doing. But at the same time, when I have really quieted the noise and I have taken my own thoughts into that place where I could really, break them apart and kind of see if this is true or not, I have
Mm,
found every single time that I have been my own worst enemy, and that had stopped me from so much success. And
yeah.
while my journey, if you look at it over the last decade, has been probably one that most would call successful, it's really easy for me to look at it and go, actually, no, I really feel like I could have done a lot more.
Right. I know.
I could have done a lot better. But in doing so, there was a lot of things that I had to unlearn about myself and that I had
Mm,
to grow through and go through so that I could continue getting to the other side. But I think that's where the real joy happens is when you realize that, like, okay, this didn't work, but I'm still worthy. I can still do this. I can
yep.
still show up tomorrow and try again.
Hmm.
And that is like the biggest message of all, and something that now as a mother I get to instill in my daughter of like, you had a bad game or this didn't work out. Like, what are you going to do tomorrow to wake up and
Yeah.
do it? So,
So good. No, I love how you shared all that because I feel like a lot of times when other people look at, someone successful like yourself who's built, a multiple, six-figure business, completely changed your life because of entrepreneurship, it's easy for people to look at someone successful like yourself and think, well, they don't really struggle or they don't have the hurdles that I'm going through right now, or she has more time or she has, more support and, she probably doesn't have all this self-doubt and insecurity with herself and she was just born this way, right? And that's just not the case. It's something we all go through.
100%. We all go through it. I still like, and that saying, new levels, new
Oh
devils.
yeah.
Like I never really truly understood what that meant. I always thought it was like, okay, when I made more money, there would be more complications. But really what I learned is that like if you're not careful, it's actually the devil that's the new devil. It's higher levels of
Yep.
doubt, of unworthiness, of like, do I
Exactly.
deserve this? Is this a fluke? And you're constantly battling that every
Yeah.
single day. And so really feeding your mind, guarding your circle, who you surround yourself with, all of that matters immensely on your track to like living your best, biggest life.
So
And so,
true. I
um,
know that whole imposter syndrome, the comparison game. I mean, it's so easy to get caught up in all of that.
yep, yeah.
Oh my God. So good. Now, looking back over the last 11 years of being an online entrepreneur, what would you say has been your biggest struggle that you've had to overcome, and how did you overcome it?
I feel like I'm reiterating kind of what I just said. Honestly, it
Yeah.
was myself.
Yeah.
It was myself, Kath. Like
Yeah.
it was truly believing that I was capable of a bigger life for myself than what had gone before me. And, I praise my mom. She was my best friend, but like we really struggled and she did everything possible to give us a great life. But it was hard. And I just kind of thought that that's the way that it was supposed to be. And so I really had to rewire myself
Yeah.
to instill this new level of belief in me that my past didn't have to equal my future, and it absolutely didn't have to equal my kids' future either. And so really just doing that work internally. And the same thing has recently kind of stirred up in me as I'm starting a new business.
Yeah.
It's the questions of, can I do it again? And will it work out as good as it did the first time? And
Yeah.
you know will I grow in this next season? And those are all just honestly bad questions.
Yeah.
I think one of the things we really have to be aware of is, asking ourselves better questions, questions of growth, not questions of lack or questions of scarcity or questions of fear, because at the end of the day, there is no certainty. The only certainty in life is constant change. And
Yeah.
so we have to be willing to adapt to change, to be willing to rise to the occasion, and to be willing to be vulnerable. Be
Mm.
willing to put it all out there. If it's something that you believe in and that you want, being willing to put it all out there, knowing that if it doesn't work out the first time, you're not a failure and it has nothing to do with your self-worth or your identity. You're learning and you're growing and you're going through the motions to become that next version of yourself, to become that next business entrepreneur, to go on that next venture of whatever it may be. So,
So good. Yeah, I think that that was probably the toughest lesson that I had to learn myself was realizing that when things don't work out the way that you want them to in your business, especially when I went through that multiple six-figure plateau for like 2+ years, it
mm,
was realizing that, okay, I'm not the failure.
yes,
And also wrapping my brain around the fact that failures aren't a bad thing because for so long I just wanted to avoid the failures because I thought that they weren't good. I thought that I wouldn't be able to get to the next level if I hit these failures. I didn't realize that the failures were more important than the wins and the successes in business, and that if I wanted to grow to the next level, I had to go through those failures and learn from them. That was a tough lesson, let me tell you.
absolutely.
This is so good. What advice would you give to someone who is at that crossroads right now where they may be questioning, am I really cut out to go as far as I had hoped with this business? Or should I just kind of put it aside and just maybe go back to what I knew, maybe go back to the 9 to 5? What advice would you give to them? They really
That's
want to take their life or their business to the next level.
a really great question and a loaded question. Like I think at the end of the day, and we have these calls on our heart for a reason. And I think a lot of times, most people, like we've talked about on this today, is they they just they take that failure as their worth
Mm,
instead of looking at the bigger picture of like, what is this challenging you to do right now? How is this challenging your character to grow? Because at the end of the day, like I think people just give up too easily. And not just in business, Kathy, in relationships,
yeah.
like anything, people just quit because for whatever reason, it's easier to walk away than it is to walk through it.
Mm,
I'm a like advocate for walking through your hard because I truly feel like that is where your character is built and
mm.
that is where the lessons are learned. And that is where the magic happens. Is like you said earlier, like allowing yourself to grow through that pain so that you can come out on the other side. And
Yep.
I wouldn't encourage you to walk away. I would encourage you to skill up,
Hmm.
skill up. I would encourage you to really increase your certainty on what it is that you're doing. Find reasons why this is what it is that you want to do and build that certainty in yourself because when you are certain about something,
Mm.
nothing is going to stop you.
Yeah, it's
Like,
so true.
but if you just try to walk into something and say, "Oh, I want to start a podcast," or "I want to start this new direct sales business," or "I want to join this new develop, this new business," like you've got to increase the certainty level of that because when you have that certainty, nothing is going to stand in your way. No critics, no failures, no anything. That vision and increasing that certainty, it's going to take you on the path that you need to go to get to the place that you truly desire to have. And so that, kind of loop around answer is just don't give up,
Yeah.
And honestly, like, can we get a little raw and real? Because I know that's how we are. Like,
Oh, yeah.
get over yourself.
Yeah, I know it's
Because
true.
let's be honest here. Most people that don't continue on with the things they want to do, they haven't exhausted all the options. You
Exactly.
know, like in my business specifically, it's like, well, I posted this week and it didn't work. I was consistent for 7 days. And it's like, well, wait, okay, what are you expecting here? Let's
Exactly.
go back to the beginning here and let's first develop the vision. Because when you're starting a business, you truly have to see beyond the first 7 days. You have to see
Exactly.
beyond the first 6 months. You have to see really beyond the first year. Kath, what's the first thing that we were taught when we joined Beachbody?
I know. Where do
Be
you see
here a year
yourself
from now.
like 5 years down the road?
Down the road. Like be here a year from now. Because
Right.
when you plant that, when you root yourself in that, then you know that everything else is just a stepping stone to get to that point. So,
Yeah.
really be honest with yourself and ask yourself, am I doing the actual behaviors that it's going to take to see this kind of success that I'm looking for? Because, it goes back to that asking better questions. Ask
Yeah.
yourself, am I doing the behaviors? Because if you're not, you know how to fill that gap now. You know how to
Right.
bridge that path to go, okay, I've been kind of dabbling, but I really want to be a business owner. I really
Right.
want to go to this next place now. So who do I need to become? There's the question. Who do I need to become to attract that ideal client, to create that type of income? What level of confidence do I need to have? Oh, okay, I'm not confident. Well, let me increase that certainty in myself by pouring into personal development, investing where I need to. Maybe it's
Mm.
therapy, who knows, you
Right.
know? But what is it that you need? Identify it, go all in on it, because that's just going to give you the skills you need to get to that next place.
Mm. So good. I know. And I think too, I heard this quote a long time ago. It was, you know how like people always say all the time, oh, I'll believe it when I see it. Well, the quote was that you have to believe it if you want to see it. Like you have to have that belief first because that is what everything stems from if you want to be able to build the business to that level or if you want to be able to have that life that you want to have for you and for your family. And then by taking those right actions like you were saying in your business will just continue to increase that belief and that confidence in yourself. And then once you have that certainty from that belief, there's no stopping you. It's when it's tainted and you start to lose the belief as soon as it starts to slip away, you might as well. It's like, you know how it is, right? You start to lose that belief, then you're not willing to show up and do the things that it's going to take to build your business to that level that you want to go to. So
Yeah.
good. This has been so awesome, Natalie. Thank you so much for being on. As we wrap up the show, did you have any last words of wisdom that you'd like to share with the audience or anything?
Yeah, I just want to say, first of all, thank you for having me. It's always so good to see you.
Oh,
And
I know. I've loved it. You are amazing. This is a
I
great podcast episode. I'll tell you that.
love honestly, I just want to say, like, don't count yourself out. Like it, you are the way to your absolute dream life. And whether you are looking in the mirror right now going, holy cow, I listened to this today and I just really realized that I have a lot of doubts. And that's not coming from other people as much as I want to say that. It's literally coming internally. And so those are things, and why I love this business so much is because those are things you have to address,
Yeah.
and if you could just decide right now that hard is the way, there's a book called The Obstacle is the Way. If you can decide right now that this journey is going to be difficult, but it's ultimately going to lead you to the absolute dream of your life, like there's nothing gonna stop you on that path. Like accept that it's going to be difficult. Because
Mm.
when we can embrace difficulty and not be scared of it, we have nothing to run from anymore. And we can really root down and dive into what we need to do to escalate to that next level.
I love it. That was awesome. You rock. Where can people go to connect with you?
Okay, so I'm on Instagram mostly at Nat J Bailey, so Jae. I have a website, nataliejaebailey.com, and then I'm also on Facebook under the same handle.
Okay, awesome. I'll make sure all that is in the show notes. And thanks so much for being on today, Natalie. I've really loved getting to talk to you. You're just amazing. I love you so much, you and the whole fam.
I love you guys too. So thank you.
Well, thanks so much for being here today and listening to the show. You know I love you. I think you're awesome. And I will see you the next time. Bye. Thanks so much for listening in. I really appreciate you choosing to spend your time here with me today. You totally rock. Hey, listen, if you loved today's episode, go ahead and tag me on social and go share this with a friend right now. Like, do it immediately before the day gets ahead of you and you totally forget. Couldn't be more pumped to be on this journey with you guys. Go make today awesome, and I will see you the next time.